you hear well? Yeah. In the back, you good?
A little more, yeah.
A little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'd like to thank Prodigy and the Art of Storytelling for having me, of course. And I'm going to read a few poems. Some of them are shorter, longer, so don't feel obligated to clap after each poem. I'm going to read a few, okay? Just do whatever feels right. The first poem I'm going to read is a poem called Summer. 1. Ansis is strong into her 60s. Chickens in the red mud yard come too close to her feed bucket, and she seizes a brown hen's neck and whips the body around one-handed to close the windpipe. Other times, she would scatter grain. Greedy hens come the closest. Ansis throws the empty bucket over the fat squatting bodies, drops her weight on it, hacks the neck with her cutlass. Chicken body drums inside the tin vessel, leaving the head and eyes gasping for air. 2. Hogs in summer wait for their grassy shit to cool and then lie in it. Doze in the corners as rain strums octaves on the zinc roof. She calls 2 men to the house to help with the struggle. Sapo and his brother crest the hill and slide down the gully path to bring up a hog. They return. Sapo's broken smile, face black, sweaty like crude oil, rises over the hill. Rope in hand, hog screaming, trotter stiff, stretched out like an ironing board. His brother wrestling the hindquarters. 3. Ansis cuts the throat, and all his will rushes at our feet. She only needs men to tie the legs and hoist the hog upside down to the hook on the cement wall. Her cutlass slices the belly like a zipper, spills tripe and bowels like curses, like obia, like the killing pan. Oily, visceral protein smell the air with the slaughtered swine. She quarters the animal. Sapo hoses down the concrete. Hog spirit, still floundering, suffocates in the congealing masses of diluted blood. We don't see him transfigured, risen again. Hogs stay dead. No inflamed phoenix soul flies ahead to Zion.
Ow.
Oh, yeah.
Reading off the iPad.
They're a little closer.
I hate reading off the iPad.
Yeah.
It's like a stack of books worth on one screen, so I will do that. Actually, I want to read a poem by Jim Harrison, who died last summer. I think he died. He lived in Montana for many years. Sort of a wild man. But he has, yeah, exactly. But he has a poem that I really like, a little short one, so I'm just going to throw it in here while I have the opportunity. Larson's Holstein bull.
Put the mic a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Death waits inside for an open door. Death is patient as a dead cat. Death is a doorknob made of flesh. Death is that angelic farm girl gored by the bull on her way home from school, crossing the pasture for a shortcut. In 7th grade, she couldn't read or write. She wasn't a virgin. She was simple-minded, we all said. It was May, a time of lilacs and shooting stars. She's lived in my memory for 60 years. Death steals everything except our stories. And that's Jim Harrison. That's not me.
Don't try to take credit.
Yeah, that's his brilliance. Yeah. This next poem is called 9mm Haikus. All the stanzas are haikus. Several rappers slain in Whole Foods. Feedback, couplets, and beats spill in the aisles. A rain bursts in the store, and they page Jock for cleanup. Jock to the cafe, to the register. Can he be everywhere at once? The manager calls Rasta to put a science on it. but he's out on a smoke break. It'll be 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more. A bent white spinster, veil raised, asks if I know when watermelons are ripe. I tell her I will divine it. I will knock on it. I will go consult oracles, or break it over her head and know by the coolness on my feet. Now, filling with rainwater, grave sites hum, making bodies into psalms. I've always been fascinated by the rapture, and it's not to burst anyone's bubble, but it's a literary device added really late to the Bible, really late. So, but all of our imagination as far as sci-fi in the last century is based around it. Zombies, coming back from the dead, the apocalypse, the end times. So I'm going to read a short poem called Dreamt, the Rapture. From darkness into the lit sphere, grass, a krylon flora, dead beetles litter the ground, grave markers erupt like baby teeth. On the mausoleum's brick, a running current of moss and rust tangle the concrete sides. Sky and amber piss, saturated soup of unclothed souls, toiling out of existence. Others rise from the ground, bewail the regret around their necks, abhor the suffering that tethers them, yearn for intercession, mouths ravenous for mercy. They lurch towards me, panic in my breast. I leap into the sky before they smother my breath. So Asia mentioned Duppys, and Duppys are ghosts. So in the Caribbean and in West Africa, we use the same word for ghosts, spirits, jinns, all sorts of spiritual creatures who cause havoc in your lives. So that's a theme that happens in poetry. I'll refer to them sometimes, and also I'll also refer to the word obia. And obia, again, is a Caribbean magic, like voodoo, but not like voodoo. In the same area, but that all of our traditions bring new religions up. So in some of these next poems, you'll hear those words, and I wanted you to be familiar. This next one is Duppys Can't Count. One of the things obia men claim about Duppys is that they are profoundly stupid. Duppys linger in the coolness of night air disguised as precipitation and cobwebs. Old men on the island often walk home singing inebriated songs to themselves. White rum on their breath cuts the chill in the air, stirs the unseen to follow their warm breath. The Duppy swirling life intersects. They hope to latch on, follow the men home, perch on their backs while they turn down kerosene lamps, pray, and rise again to fall asleep. The unseen hope to live through them, jinn spirit, instigating havoc in their lives, straining their relations and dealings. But old men know what live in the night, and if accosted, the wise mark an X behind them in the dirt. Up Stony Hill, Mandeville, and 9 miles away, it is believed that a Duppy, having passed through the veil, is not in full possession of their former faculties, and cannot remember how to count past 9. When they stalk the living, upon reaching the Roman numeral left in the soil, they are perplexed, neither being able to count past it or down from it until either rain or wind settles the mark back into the ground, giving the living the chance to make it home to their prayers without mingling with pariah. Thank you. Along with those themes, sometimes I write about haunted places and haunted things. I've had the fortunate I've had the unfortunate experience to not be a believer, but have a lot of this stuff happen to me all the time, and it's irritating. So I haven't reconciled that, but stuff happens, and I keep looking the other way. This is about a place in Ohio, a red barn in Ohio that for years people went to and did all sorts of things in. And finally, it burned down a couple years ago. It was an evil place though, if you'd gone in there. So I was really glad to hear that it burned down. So, red barn. Exploded glass makes water iridescent under the covered bridge. Maria Elena walks with me, sings, breaks in and out of Spanish. Her eyes scour land for a soft place to lie down. We cross the threshold of some place wicked, unseen to the open eye. The life of this place festers, sulks below the sod, turning over with grubs. Red barn appears through the trees. Elena crosses herself, kisses the crucifix, offended by the profanity on the breeze. She lights sage and frankincense, and we march the hill, peel back the doors, seduced by an unholy possession. We wade into darkness, chest deep, vacant of God, its paralysis lashing our feet and necks. There's a cat's skeleton in the horse stall, a girl's spirit, and the two men who killed her, squeezing the life from her throat into the straw. A man made of smoke circles us, his leaden boots stamping at our presence. We break free into the field of wailing cicadas, where it will rain on our faces. This poem is called Autopsia. At my autopsy, through the forked incision, they find stone instead of organs. You as small statues in my gut and chest, 30 or so topple onto the metal table. I ask to see them, then examine their rough construction, my thumb's print grazing every feature, porous and white. And I sing, chirp my life's hymn. I want my chest to be filled with blossoms, pink and white, spring swirling like confetti, or a lake whose shores have stones worn smooth. My eyes are heavy. I lie back, grabbing each figure by the head, splash them into the belly of the lake. They sink with tiny bubbles. I count back until there are none. This poem was in an anthology called Standing Your Ground. Stand Our Ground. About the killing of Trayvon Martin and countless others that I don't have time to name. So I wrote this poem for that anthology, and it's called I Killed Trayvon Martin. 1. I killed Trayvon Martin, left him on the ground, a slim lamb, slaughtered, still and growing cold, a sacrifice for absolution. Curse the God that takes the slain tribute, who gobbles the soul of an innocent black boy to shower clean the wretches diseased with sin. The confessor confesses killing Martin, because the country hates niggers. Maybe the world beyond it does too. It's a hard thing to say. 2. I killed Trayvon Martin because somewhere in there I learned to hate myself, fear myself, envy myself, despise myself, in spite of. Does dark skin lower the value like a chip in antique porcelain? I think I learned that in Catholic school. Me and Benji Darko were outcast. Jamaican and Liberian accents made us both African booty scratchers, leprous and undeserving of touch. The black kids especially didn't want us. Our strange tongues, speaking as a mouthful of river rocks, would have jeopardized the social hierarchy. Benji went back to Africa. I learned to talk white. I learned to talk black. I learned to talk American. Stuffed my ackee-filled country patois and smoky molasses people deep inside my belly. Became all American. Played football, learned to dunk. 3. I killed Trayvon Martin because though I've learned to love myself, my brethren, my family, I do not love whole. Hatred is a furba without a handle, clenched in a closed hand. Its tip is meant for another. It severs the lifelines of our own palm. Any hatred left, however small, makes us complicit in the slaying of the bullet. Dislodge the blade from his black body, lift his ashes into the wind. Okay, I've got a couple more. This poem is called Spellcasting, the Absolution of the Constant and Loneliness, for ELB. Hollow the light above the earth where a tune comes from. Fill it with brilliant water, over drowning spirits, absorb the mournful bones. They become bright beneath the skin, peaceful how the flame's tongues wag under the wire. These whispers, born to an unwilling wound, a muddy sore, will bind. Restless words of bone fear flesh, fear the blood of a thing, too skittish to be scarred, humming to flee to the damp night. These words, where the light comes from, will bind us. The once love must wither, the new swells full, engorged. So, I'm returning to writing. It's rocky. it's hard to get it back. Not in the flow of things just yet, but I'm working on the discipline part of it. So even if I'm writing garbage every day, I would write every day. So I'm starting there, and then hoping it gets better. But I was working on something last night, and since I have a captive audience, I thought I would just share it with you. Because it hasn't been edited or read out loud, it's the opportunity to hear what needs to be edited.
Yeah.
But it's in prose, which I dabble in back and forth. Prose is really fun sometimes. Sometimes it's boring. So I'll read this. It's a little bit of a longer piece, and then I will relinquish the mic. It's called In That Grave. Hang on a second. In that grave. I'm 3.5, maybe 4. We have a helper named Cecilyn, and she wears a rag on her head. She's slender and has most of her teeth. Her eyes are kind, but her grip is particularly strong. We are in the bright kitchen, and I'm hopping from shadow to shadow while she peels the yams. She's teaching me to spell. Egg. E-G. G. You try it, she commands. I don't want to do this, but she won't let me go outside till I spell at least 2 words. Right outside the kitchen door is my cherry tree. I would pick all the fruit I could reach, sucking the pits and piling them up at the lichen-covered roots. But that wasn't why it was my favorite. It had branches low enough for me to climb to and sit on and ride like a horsey. Leaves vigorously swish, swish, swishing in the air. I would ride, then collect the cherries that fell. Sometimes I'd play a game, eating as many cherries as I could, keeping all the pits in my mouth. not a particularly fun game, but a rather good way to die with a lump of cherry pits in your throat. But in Jamaica, they say, craven like a choked puppy, meaning gluttony will hurt you. Egg, E-G-G. I think to myself, those letters make no sense. How could that spell anything? E-G-G, I repeat, but I don't believe the letters. Tree, this is one I know, is one of her go-to words. T-R-E-E, and I'm gone. I barely hear the end of her don't go too far. I'm at the gully's edge before she finishes the sentence. There are breadfruit, tangerine, orange, plantain, grapefruit, and June plum, calabash, ganja, mango, ota-iti apple, ackee, banana, green upon shade of green in that canopy. A sea of leaves, verde, chartreuse, seafoam, mint, moss, olive, jade, beryl, and myrtle. Dad says banana trees don't die, that there is a resurrection. Their roots run. They are like aspen and Venus flytraps who never die. Under the gully floor, the creeping roots slither their way around stones and through rotting leaves, and come up in rhizomes, then into new trees. And all the trees are related, and what flows through one flows through the others. Beyond the gully, near its brim, are two graves. We live in the country on land that has been passed by mouth, then hand, then official testament. A guava tree reaches over. Its fallen fruit rots and stains the spots on the graves. Spiders dangle from the dried bouquets left as tribute. Belonging to the land, our people are often buried at the church or at home. I don't know why they come back. I don't always know what they want. When I blink, there are women. One over each concrete slab, each in their Sunday best, but like wisps of vapor, flickering like a flame over the slick tiled graves. The woman closest to me starts to talk. Her lips aren't moving. She billows like a scarf on a clothesline, where her legs should be only tattered cloth. She tells me about times I will never see, times long before me, and times after me. She tells me about my mother's dreams. She tells me about every time that I will lose love. She tells me about the cadaver I would hack into in college anatomy. She tells me all the secrets I would ever hold. In a Gillette-sword moment, I am sober. I run, forgetting every whisper with each step, closer to the house. Cecilyn catches me, and I tell her all while wailing and crying. She tells me, in those graves are your great-great aunts. And now that they have seen you, it is only the beginning.
Good Lord. Yeah.
Thank you.